You're listening to Staying in the Game, a Plum Dragon Herbs podcast where we have conversation about mindset and techniques for staying at the top of your game. Plum Dragon Herbs provides herbs and Dit Da Jow to support all types of martial arts training and wellness programs. Our podcast welcomes voices from all corners of the martial arts and health communities. We understand that there are many conflicting martial arts and health philosophies, and our podcast showcases the wide variety of opinions that exist. The views expressed by our podcast guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Plum Dragon Herbs, its staff, or partners. I'm your host, Janelle Leatherwood, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Sifu Kisu, who is a fifth-generation Bak Siu Lum Pai disciple descended from the great Grandmaster Cheong through Master Kenneth Hui of the Northern Shaolin Kung Fu Association. And he has been a dedicated practitioner of traditional Chinese Kung Fu for over 50 years. And his daily practice has led him to understand how to transmit the physical, energetic components in such a way that is open and accessible to the Western mind, which I find very intriguing. He is a master in the Chinese martial arts, focusing on the style of Northern Shaolin Kung Fu. He is most famously known for being the chief martial arts director and consultant for the animated series Avatar, The Last Airbender and Avatar, The Legend of Korra. From his lifelong experience in martial arts, he created the bending styles seen in this series and linked to the styles of the Chinese martial arts. The Northern Shaolin style of Kung Fu is one of the most prominent traditional Northern styles of the Chinese martial arts. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that today. And I would like him to back up a little bit in his life story and tell us how he first got exposed to the world of martial arts at a young age in Toronto, Canada, or had you gone elsewhere by that point?
Yeah, we were in Missouri by that point.
Okay.
And, there was a local karate school. I think it was Bagua now on the place. And I got the chance to study the Shorin-Ryu style, if I'm not mistaken. And did that for a number of years until I think I may have achieved a junior black belt, which I find kind of laughable at this point. But and then from there I went on, and my parents were stationed at Norton Air Force Base, San Bernardino, California, and I met a fellow there who taught Taekwondo. Then I went out to the military, and at one of the special forces schools I attended for martial art, they did the same style of Taekwondo that I had studied as a teenager.
Okay.
And I got a chance to do that. And I did that for many, many years. I think I got a second, maybe a third degree black belt in that. And met my teacher. I moved to Los Angeles. I was in Hawaii at the time. And I met my teacher, Kenneth Hui, at that point. And he is my Sifu until today.
Oh, that's amazing.
I talked to him a little while ago today, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a little bit of journey. My
journey.
My Taekwondo teacher was he was I guess primary school classmates with the man who eventually became the president of Korea, Park Chung-hee. And I got a chance to take a few trips to Korea, where I went to the World Taekwondo headquarters, and I trained with President Park's bodyguards while my teacher taught his bodyguards. And so got a chance to explore Korean culture, got a chance to learn some of the deeper aspects of Taekwondo and its parent art, which is Cheong, which is the old Korean foot fighting. I think the difference between modern Taekwondo and the old Cheong was that they their mandate was to kill with the legs, right? So a lot of the high jumping techniques were used to take an opponent off of a horse, or in pitched battles, running forward and taking down a whole row of people and that sort of thing. So I think most of what I've learned in terms of martial arts has been from lineages that were tried and tested before the advent of firearms, right? And so, if you didn't have, fist of iron, or if you didn't understand the sword or the saber or the spear, you might not have been able to survive in those times. And so our lineage is linked back to those times. Our Northern Shaolin, for instance, predates the 16 and 1700s. The modern version, propagated by Cheong, was I think it was refined and standardized around in the 1920s, when they opened the National Goshu Institute in Nanjing, China, where I guess there was a contest of thousands of people from all over China who came, and I forget the name of the tournament. It's a big historical event, but our great grandmaster was one of 15 winners. And out of the 15, I think 10 went on to teach at the institute at Nanjing. And out of those 15, 10 of them were the legendary 10 tigers who went south. They were sent them down to Guangdong to teach the militias. Mind you, my understanding of history is somewhat suspect. So it's I'm kind of giving you the word of mouth version that I got as I went along. But it's a grand lineage, and it has taught me so much about myself, so much about life. And I understand the martial arts, I think, in a very particular way, as opposed to someone who may not have had my experiences.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean?
Well, my teacher's school was, when I got there, it was all Chinese. I was one of maybe 3 non-Asian people that were there. And we didn't really feel welcome in the beginning. And, it's just a matter, it's a vast cultural gulf, right? And I've made so many mistakes over the years in just dealing with my teacher, from the fact that I'm an American, which is a potpourri of cultures, and him being a very traditional Chinese man. And so I think I made a lot of mistakes in interaction that put a few bumps in the road along the way. My teacher is probably one of the smartest men I've ever met. He's a military scientist. He invented several pieces of hardware that are used throughout military, used by militaries throughout the world. And most recently, he was responsible for the space telescope they launched, the James Webb Space Telescope.
Oh, right on.
He was on the team at Northrop Grumman that created that. I think in particular, he designed the deployment systems for it. It was folded up like an origami piece and unfolded into this thing that is about to change our understanding of the universe. So I'm very proud to be his friend and his student.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing. That so many martial arts masters have this incredible knowledge that goes way beyond martial arts. So that's interesting, and yet they dedicate so much of their life to the training in martial arts.
It's true. In my own education, I got my master's in engineering, and I got a second master's in business administration, and did that for a number of years before I just kind of dropped out and became a Kung Fu teacher full time. And I've been teaching steadily for the last 25, 30 years. since the early 90s.
Yeah. What have you seen has changed? Like, could you generalize it over the years? The students have changed in this way, or is that not accurate?
Well, I don't know. I think in terms of the martial arts, martial art has always been subject to trends. If we'll look back, the ninja fad came and went, and then later on the kickboxing fad came and went, and then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu became very popular, and you had various levels of that, and the I guess the K1 and the UFC stuff kind of promoted a sort of realistic / MMA / Muay Thai / Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu affair. And so I've seen a lot of trends and phases come and go in the world of martial arts, and I have my own opinions about each of which. The reason that I've studied and stuck with the Chinese martial art for so long is it didn't teach just fighting. It taught you to how to engage in a series of ranges, and helped me develop a series of defensive capabilities that I may not have found in another style. I've also found that I'm 63 now, and in the course of my career, I've had different rivalries and people that didn't like me, and people that work against me, and people that wanted to fight me, and longevity. At my age, I still can do the splits 3 ways. I can, I've still got plenty of wind, except here at altitude, of course. It's really difficult to breathe at 6,000 feet. So that has also changed me in an amazing way. I've lived in the mountains for the last 5 years. And when I go back to Los Angeles or San Francisco or something, I'm Superman.
Yeah.
But, up here, I have to be very conscious of the breath.
That is so true. I'm a Californian as well, by birth, and transplanted to Utah. And I know I remember distinctly feeling like I can't breathe when I'm running. And then I went back to run a couple laps in California. I'm like, this is so much easier. It's like crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
I went back to my teacher's Christmas party a couple of years ago before the pandemic. And since I had been in Colorado, I hadn't even attempted to do a full training form. I was practicing in sections. And I went back and I just breezed through one of the intermediate forms. I surprised myself. I was expecting to fall apart in the middle of that, and that didn't happen.
That's funny.
So the martial arts has been good to me. I've watched many of my contemporaries pass away over the last few years, people who were much younger than me. And I've been keeping a catalog of the various ways that people die. And taking notes for myself, and I've dodged a couple of bullets. I've made a couple of mistakes, but so far so good. Spent the last 3 winters snowboarding a lot, which snowboarding and skiing is a full body experience.
Yes, absolutely.
And so probably stronger and healthier than I've ever been in my entire life.
That's great. We've exchanged some pictures. Me skiing and you snowboarding. We'll have to get you back up to Utah again sometime, and I'll have to try. Really I need to try Colorado.
It's if you come, I would be glad to show you around. I've got a couple of these mountains nailed down. I have some friends that live in Park City at one of those amazing security enclaves up on the side of the mountain.
Okay.
Promontory Club is one of them.
Oh, okay.
And so whenever I go out there, they treat me like a lost prince. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Park City's pretty cushy.
Yeah, well, I wasn't that impressed with the mountain. But
yeah.
I had a really good time
interesting.
in Park City.
Okay.
Yeah, it was icy when I was there.
Okay. Yeah, that can happen, of course. Yeah.
that's a kung fu all its own, though. If,
Yeah.
people in your audience that don't do snow sports, it's it'll change you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm sure your students love you and are excited to find out about your connection to the Last Avatar. And I'm just wondering if you could touch on that for a little bit, because there's so many other things that I want, or I'm sorry, the Last Airbender. If you could touch on that for a little bit, and then I want to talk to you about a number of other things. So tell us, tell us about how you got involved with that project and what your role in it was.
Well, I was actually kind of minding my own business at the time. I wasn't looking for a job in the entertainment industry. One of my students at the time, Brian Konechko, worked for Nickelodeon. And I think they were doing a project called Invader Zim at the time, which I think was very popular. And he was in my student group, and he approached me about this project that he was working on. And I had actually told him at the time I wasn't interested, and everybody in LA has got a TV show that they're trying to do. And, I told him I wasn't really interested. I worked out at Saban for years I worked on Power Rangers, VR Troopers, The Masked Rider, Big Bad Beetleborgs. So I was utility stunts and character acting in a number of costumes. I think on one of them I played the villain for 61 episodes and was really tired of the entertainment industry at that point. And when this guy came along with this show, I was suspect and skeptical about being involved, but it turned out to be a really good experience. We got into, I don't know, methods and areas that I don't think that anyone in the animation industry had ever attempted before. We created
the bending art.
Yeah, so the bending arts were when they first came to me, they had a couple of ideas about what they wanted to do, and they started talking about the 5 elements. And I said, well, it's interesting that you would talk about that. I said, because certain styles of martial arts actually lend themselves to particular elements. And so I made some bold choices, and I basically selected from the styles of martial arts that friends of mine who practiced them, where I either respected them or I was terrified of them. And so like I have a lot of my brothers are from the Hung Gar school. And so we chose the Hung Gar style for the earth bending because of the low stances and the types of trajectories that the swinging arms that they use in that style. And I don't know, in my own mind, I felt like, wait, my camera's falling. In my own mind, I felt that, you know, certain essences permeated different styles like that. For airbending, I was like, you know, Bagua is famous for tornado power, right? Northern Shaolin, I selected for the firebenders. Number one, they were the antagonist in the show. And number two, much to my teacher's chagrin, I had always kind of been the bad boy in our group. So that was kind of a mischievous choice on my part. Waterbending and Tai Chi were, you know, they went hand in hand as far as that went. And Brian Konechko had been my student for several years and had learned a lot of the basics and had learned a couple of weapons, and he was absolutely intrigued by it. So he had a lot of input, and I'll say right here and now, it's although all the visual reference for everything that happened in that show came directly from me, it wouldn't have been half the show it was without Brian taking the time to become a student and actually immerse himself in learning the Northern Shaolin style. So I want to give him a lot of credit. And plus, he's one of the best probably one of the best artists I've ever seen. I mean, you start talking to somebody and they start telling you how they're drawing in a particular camera lens style, right? If it's a telephoto or a wide angle or what. I mean, who thinks of that, right? And so he's an extraordinary visionary. I think they're working. They're doing a movie right now over there. I'm not sure what they're doing about the martial arts and the thing, but I've been busy with other things, and I wasn't particularly interested in that sort of thing anymore.
Yeah.
So,
tell me. Well, I was just going to ask you with the different forms in the movie, like where does the reality meet the fantasy?
So that's a really good and interesting question, in that everything that we use in the show came from arts that I felt were tried and true methods of self-defense and combat dominance, right? So the Northern Shaolin style alone by itself is, to this day, very secretive and very legendary, as opposed to, you can find a Taekwondo school on every corner. So it's not something that is common knowledge. It's not something that's been commercialized. The popularity of it has multiplied exponentially since the onset of the show. And I get contacted all the time by fans who tell me that they started their martial art journey because of the work that we did. Or, I get people who wanted to come up to Colorado just to visit me and take a few lessons because of their interest in the show. So all of that is cool. But something else I noticed after we got going with the show is that, when people see you on television, the TV is like this magic box, right? And so you become part of that magic, and people tend to start treating you. I've had people stand in front of me and talk about me in the third person as if I wasn't there.
Wow.
And so, I even at one point had found people making jokes about my involvement in the show, which, in some ways, it felt like it was taking the legitimacy of the art away. And so I like to be very clear with people that I'm first and foremost an exponent of the Northern Shaolin style, and not the model for cartoon characters.
Right, yeah.
But besides that, they drew a couple of characters based on my likeness. Sokka's master, the Master Pian Dao, was drawn for me, and the Guru, and a couple of other ones. And pretty much anything that you saw that was cool martial art movement in that show, I'm responsible for that. So.
I love it. Well, it's so interesting to me how these forms that are so graceful can be so lethal at the same time.
It's it's good that you brought that up, because I've been talking to a couple of my students about that recently, and it's the beauty of martial arts, the lines and the transitions and the dynamicism, all of those things are what makes up real and true martial arts. The problem that's happened now is that because of YouTube and TikTok and all of these different platforms, everyone has a voice. And so you have all of these people that some of them, in my opinion, don't even understand the basics of martial arts, and they're making instructional videos. And I think that has hurt the martial arts, from some perspective. But I'm not the Kung Fu police, so what am I going to say? It's but in reaction to that, I've begun to back away from my associations with various people in martial arts. A lot of the young people now, including my sons, are into the tricking arts, which is acrobatics with kicks added to it. And I have some strong opinions about that. I won't share them here because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But it's martial arts, and acrobatics is acrobatics. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I can see how that would be frustrating, or I don't know. It gets a little bit I don't know if political is the right word, but everybody everybody likes their own style, but now like there's so many people that are kind of like wannabe martial artists, I guess, creating their own
There's a,
styles and
there's a lot of that going around. It's Bruce Lee, for instance, created his own style, and
Mhm.
anyone that'll do any research into that will find that Bruce Lee was a product of several different traditional methods of self-cultivation, and that he really shouldn't have taken uh, what's the word I'm looking for, credit
Mhm.
for. I mean, it's the traditional martial arts say that all credit that you should have in the martial arts should go to any teacher who put his time and trust and patience into building your skills, right? So, to this day, my teacher, Kenneth Hui, is still my father teacher. I would never ever turn around and take credit and say, oh, I made up my own style or something like that.
Mhm.
That's absurd. It's David Way, who was on your show, is very loyal
Yeah.
to his teachers, and has the thing about traditional martial art is, in order for you to be taught to get the real sauce, is that someone has to trust you enough, and you have to show that you're loyal and trustworthy enough to learn what they have to teach. I mean, let's face it, anyone can be dangerous these days. Anyone can buy a gun, right? And go and blow somebody's brains out or something like that. But how many people can actually defend themselves? How many people actually understand how to own their own space, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's the bottom line with all martial art is people just want to be left alone. They
Right.
when you see the guy with the big MMA sticker on the back of his car, or the tap out T-shirt, or the
Mhm.
Brazilian Jiu Jitsu sticker, I think a lot of those people are just saying, "Please leave me alone. I
Mhm.
could be dangerous to you." Right? And I think the martial art is much more than that. I don't. The martial art, it's about self cultivation. It's about self discovery. It's about um, people who wouldn't normally be interested in learning about spiritual practices or healing find themselves drawn into those fields because of their martial art experience. That's my
Mhm.
opinion.
Right. Yeah, well, it seems like those who are maybe claiming their own style don't understand like how important the history and the culture of lineage is in martial arts, and they don't know how to maybe give their due respect where it's deserved. I don't know if it was because they weren't taught that themselves properly through, a real teacher and passed on some, it could be, or they just don't care, which is a shame as well.
We're in interesting times. It's a lot of people feel entitled to a lot of stuff that they're not really entitled to.
Hmm.
A lot of people, I mean, it's like lying on your resume, right? It's
Yes. Yeah.
if you get the job, it worked, and
Hmm.
hopefully HR doesn't find out.
Yeah. I
it,
know.
it would have been interesting and just to go back to Bruce Lee for a second. It would have been interesting had he survived,
Hmm.
because between he died at 30 something. Well, between 30 and 40 and 40 and 50 and 50 and 60, you begin to mature, and hopefully you start to become the person that you were always meant to be,
Hmm.
right? And I think, me making it to the age I've made it to, and I'm still healthy and still vital and still full of energy,
Hmm.
um, is a success that can't be measured in dollars, can't be written on your resume. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
So when you say that you're kind of backing away a little bit, I mean, what does retirement look like for you? Because people could still really benefit from your gift. So why pull that away? Or
Well, I intend to continue being my teacher student. I intend to continue teaching. I think I may be on my last group of adults, and I'm thinking maybe sometime in the next 10 years, I may only concentrate on young children,
hmm.
and see what that does. My teacher feels that the Northern Shaolin style follows um, um, the rules of natural body development, right? Like
Hmm.
I taught all my children Northern Shaolin. and they are all stronger and faster and smarter than a lot of the people around them. And I think that means something. I taught a lot of people when I was in Los Angeles. I had thousands of students, and out of those thousands, there are several hundreds of people who are all at the top of their game in their careers. You know, cinematographers, police officers, military operatives. You know, I've been blessed to meet some amazing people. It's one of my students is intelligence officer in the Army, and he's also a Delta Force operative. And I asked him once, I said, don't they teach you how to kill people with your bare hands? And he says, well, yeah, of course. I says, well, how does that compare to what I've taught you? And he says, Sifu, it doesn't hold a candle to what you've shown me. He says, I'm above and beyond most of these people from my experience with you. So that's made me feel really good.
Yeah. Would you say that most of your serious students come to you with like a level of humility, or have you had to like take some people aside and say, look, I know you think you know a lot, but you have to come here with, you know, the expectation that you have everything to learn and nothing to offer yet at this point?
I never had that conversation with people because martial arts in its developmental phases causes all sorts of human reactions. You know, the ego swells. I've even noticed people that get to a certain level and who started out to be very humble people and ended up turning into bullies or a-holes, excuse my French. But it does all sorts of things. For me, it has humbled me on so many levels. It's like I learned how to fight and defend myself a long time ago. But that's only a small part of the martial art. The real essence of martial art is learning to control your own blood, breath, body, and your chi, your life force energy. And then after you've reached a certain level, you're able to regulate your opponent's body, blood, breath, and chi, right? That the practice and use of weapons teaches you how to extend your life force energy beyond your own fingertips, right? And through a weapon and through your opponent's weapon into their body. You know, there's without, you know, martial art is mystical. It should be mystical, but it shouldn't be woo.
So, but I guess what I'm wondering is like, do most of your students come with like a teachable attitude, or did they have to?
I've been lucky. I've made some mistakes teaching, and some of my students have made some mistakes. But I think in my class, most of my students have been long term, and through that long term, that we've all expanded our path of self-discovery.
Okay.
Right? And again, I think that's what the martial art is about. It's about self-discovery. It's about you know, self-revelation. It's about spiritual growth, in my opinion.
Yeah. So what would be like some of the key advice that you've given to your students?
Well, kind of I've got all sorts of little ciphers that I tell my students. I teach them the principle of martial art, and I teach them the rules of engagement of the martial art. But I let people know that it's not just about learning how to fight. I mean, you know, any monkey can ball up a fist and shove it into someone's face, right? But how many people can learn to make their movement and their life a work of art? And so I think that's the big message that's in the martial art I think that how does my teacher say it? My teacher says that there are several stages of learning the martial art. That the first stage is you learn mobility and flexibility. That in the second stage, you learn strength and endurance. And in the third stage, you learn how to apply what you've learned against a resisting opponent. And then that the fourth stage is what they call the self-awareness training. And that stage of study will dictate whether or not the student becomes just another fighter, or an enlightened martial artist, right? And then we could talk about what that means to be an enlightened martial artist. You know, I can't say that I've achieved any level of enlightenment, but most certainly my life has been enriched by what I've learned so far.
Yeah. Who do you think has been like the most enlightened mentor that you've worked with? Like, what do you hope to someday, like, how do you hope to become like that person someday?
Well, my teacher for sure he's one of the smartest and wisest men I've ever met. He teaches in Southern California, the Northern Shaolin Kung Fu Association. And he's worked very hard there. So he's one of my idols and my father teacher. The other one, my yoga teacher, Yogi John Franzoni, was another near enlightened, crazy physical genius. I mean, he could do straight leg chin to toe, you know, he'd kick himself in the forehead. He really understood the essences of yoga and the ha, ta, hatha, ha, and ta essence of yoga. And so I learned quite a bit from him. Outside of my own family, those are probably two of my greatest heroes. And then I've had the pleasure of meeting, like I mentioned, David Way, and there are other martial art teachers and masters, very humble people that I've met over the years who had extraordinary skills and were kind enough and friendly enough to share things with me. And I'm really glad I didn't meet them in a dark alley.
Yeah.
You know
Oh gosh. Well, so how would you say, like, air bending, the bending movement and all that, how much of it can you explain to the Westerner, like some of the things that look kind of magical? How is it possible to explain how it works, or is it like we'd have to be a student of yours for many years to be?
No, it's actually kind of simple. It's so when they came to me in the beginning, they were just looking for cool moves to put with their magical bendings. And they had some ideas about it. And so I got very specific and I said, hey, well, Tai Chi is a lot, you know, the flowing of water, right? It's the 5 elements is a through thread of thought for all of the Asian martial art, right? And so I said, let's go ahead and assign particular arts to the particular bending, and that way it'll give it a substance in reality, right? One of the offshoots was that 30 years ago there was never a child in a Tai Chi class, right? And so when Avatar became famous, people would contact me over the internet. It's when the internet first started getting popular, and they were like, "We don't know who you are or where you're from, but for the first time ever, we've got children in our Tai Chi class. Thank you."
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So anybody who's got kids in their class because of our TV show should send me $1. I'll give you emojis.
Well,
oh God.
What do kids have to learn when they start? Like, because they probably come ready to like become part of the myth. And I mean, but you probably don't want to crush that idea either. Like, you want to work with that.
Well, I don't teach children, first off. My teacher does. And I think he's gotten a few students that have come because of the popularity of Avatar. He teaches mainly in the Chinese community. And he is about the promotion of traditional Chinese culture. So I have had a lot of students come to me and they were enamored with the TV show. And so I have to bring them back to reality pretty quick and go, you know, that's just a cartoon. All of those bendings that you like are built on traditional martial arts. But what I'm teaching is not bending now. So I think I may have busted a few bubbles or hurt a couple of feelings or something like that. But most people get it. The other side of it is, oh my God, I've met so many people and gone so many places, you know, after my association with that project. I got invited to hundreds of Comic-Cons, which are a thing in and of themselves. If you've never been to a comic book convention, they are something else. And then,
I haven't, but I've seen a lot of people on, friends going to those. So,
on Facebook. And the people dressing up in costume is always cute. And you get to be your favorite superhero for a day. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's I think anything that occurs in this life that allows you to meet people and make friends with people. It's I think, quite frankly, had I not done that work on that show, I would have never met David Way. I met David Way one day when I was being interviewed at Kung Fu magazine, and went to dinner with Jing Ching, and David was a fan of the show. And one of the coolest things for me over the years is that legit martial artists, I mean, people that are real badasses, have contacted me and been fans of the show. And they could see the traditional martial art. They could see the amount of work that went into the show. It's nobody thought that stuff up. They filmed me doing a particular antic, and then drew frame by frame me performing that antic, and then applying a character's face to that throughout that motion. It's the world of animation, 2D animation. They would send most of it to Asia to do what they draw keyframes, but there's the in-betweens, what they call tweens, that you have to draw. And so the problem with that is that the guy who's drawing that, or the lady that's drawing that, they're getting the same money whether they're drawing Tom and Jerry, or stick figures, or detailed martial art motions with particular geometries flowing through in animated real time. And I think the people that ended up working on this, it was a Korean studio, Studio Mir. They really earn their money. This stuff was not easy. The kids who created this show, they were overwhelmed at one point by what they had realized they had undertaken. But corners were not cut, details were applied, and we created something legendary together. And let me also say that those shows, no one person can take credit for those shows. Those shows were the result of hundreds, even thousands of people working in concert to create each and every one of those episodes. Every episode of Avatar, for instance, cost over $1 million. 22 minutes of animation, yeah. And that was all the consultants, that was all the artists, that was the storyboard artists, that was the directors, that was the writers. I would be real surprised in the future if they were able to come up with anything even close to that, because it was a magical dream team of people that came together to create that show.
That is so awesome that you got to be a part of it. Like that just sounds so much fun and rewarding to see, like, real Northern Shaolin skills being shown in a cartoon fashion, and that the animators took such pride in incorporating all the tiny little movements that they could have maybe left out.
There was a lot of pushback. On the business side of it, of course, the producers they couldn't understand why they had to pay a consultant the type of money they were paying me. And a bunch of people went to bat for me and said, no, you don't understand. We can't do that without this guy. We're doing this thing. And then after the first season came out and the numbers started coming back, then I found myself in somebody's office being patted on the back repeatedly.
Right.
It's because the business side is totally different from the creative side. So,
yeah. If you could pick your own project and maybe have full control over it, what would you like to work on?
It's interesting you would say that. My friends and I created a show called, this is the first time I'm going to say this on a public broadcast, but it's important that people should know. We created a show called The Legends of a Sword Society. And it was about, it was a journey, discovery, adventure with a bunch of young people in a China-esque land. And we intended to include them going to, all the tribes of the world where, there would be African people, there would be European people, there would be Asian people, there would be indigenous people from various continents. And I took it to Disney. Disney looked at it, told me they weren't interested in doing it. And then they did Raya and the Last Dragon, which is not my story, but it is my show. They ripped me off completely. And then we did another show called The Scavengers, which was kind of like my Kung Fu Space Pirates. It's and don't get me wrong, I'm not a writer, but I saw how the business worked and I decided to take a shot at it. And so I also took that to Disney XD brand. They're a bunch of thieving liars. And they took all the elements from my show that they liked and they married it into the newest generation of the Star Wars stuff.
Oh gosh.
The Donnie Yen character that was in one of the most recent Star Wars was the exact character of one of the members of my crew on my little Kung Fu spaceship journey. And which I was inspired, I think, by the TV show Serenity to do that one. And I think my inspiration to do Legends of the Sword Society was the movie The Bride with White Hair and a couple of other of those Taoist wuxia movies that I was looking for. Basically, I was looking for a wave to put my Kung Fu surfboard on. I wanted to really immerse the audience in the process of and discovery and the pain of learning Kung Fu. And so it was a martial arts school on a spaceship. It's kind of, I think Cowboy Bebop kind of influenced me for that one too. But
did you have any of your own animators, or were you hoping that that's where Disney would have done the right thing?
Oh no, we did our own artwork. I worked with a young man by the name of Russell Brown, who I've never met in person. And Russell brought to life all these amazing characters.
You guys should release it on your own.
Yeah, it never worked out that way, but this is some of the artwork from the show. Spaceships and a character that looks a lot like me, and a blind swordsman, and this guy was one of my favorites. This was the crazy Rasta captain that was on the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
And if I can't seem to find it right now, but if I were to show you the Legends of the Sword stuff, it's let's see, I'll keep looking, but I can never find anything I'm looking for when I'm looking for it.
You should show us your swords too that you showed me earlier.
Oh yeah, that's easy enough. It's the story behind these is that I practiced with all of these, and some of them are really beautiful pieces.
Love it. Those are gorgeous.
Yeah. I bought several of them on my many trips to China. And I was gifted a few of them here. A couple of them are from my teacher. And I've been a sincere practitioner of Chinese martial arts since about 20 years old. I started with my teacher in 1977, 1978. And I think I opened my first school in 91. And it's been a great journey. I don't regret anything except my involvement with Hollywood.
Maybe a love-hate relationship with him, or is it pure hate?
No, I don't hate anyone. I really don't. I've taken everything as a lesson, you know?
Yeah.
You don't really learn anything well unless you get your nose rubbed in. And that's all about growth. And it's nowadays, people are all about well, if you're good at something, you should monetize it, right? And I'm a bit of a warrior, poet, priest, as opposed to a merchant or a salesman. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Well, what would your students like you to share about yourself? What I bet they all like love something about you that they think our audience should know. I'm going to ask it that way because I think you're a humble guy and you might not say it otherwise.
My students, I have been blessed with some of the most amazing people ever, and it's always fate, you know. Always, it's always kind of you know, just the luck of the draw if you find a sincere and legitimate kung fu teacher, or if you find someone who's just running a business, right? And so I've never run it as a business, although I've made money teaching martial arts. I had thousands of students in Los Angeles, and I was able to make, you know, quite a nice living there. And but Los Angeles has its own dynamic, of course. Since I've been in Colorado, I teach a much smaller group, and the inroads and triumphs that I've made with these young people are they're mind-bending, they're breathtaking. I've helped and watched people grow to their fullest potential, and I am proud to have taken part in that.
That's so incredible.
Yeah. It's mentioning David Wei again. I actually went all the way to China and hung out with him and his teacher at Wudong, and we had a great time running around China together. So, you ever want to have fun in China, go with David Wei. He is a funny guy. I love that man.
Oh, that's funny. That's awesome. Well, before our show started, you were rubbing some bruise juice on your toe. Did you get rid of any of that pain?
Yep, my toe feels much better. What did you do to your toe? Oh, I was teaching the other day. I was teaching my opponent, my student to throw, and he was really surprised that it worked. And I came down like on my bent toe and kind of jammed it backwards. So it was about as red and bruised and as swollen as a big toe gets. So the bruise juice is helping.
Oh,
Plum Dragon, get it.
Yay. Well, before we wrap up, was there anything else that you were hoping to share, or did we cover it all?
I think I probably shared more than I meant to. I was a little shy thinking about talking to you because I've actually gotten really humble lately. I don't have a lot to say, you know, except to my students and about the martial art. I've grown from this experience. I started out wanting to learn how to not get beat up by bullies, and learned how to control myself and how to give myself radiant health into my old age. So I think I'm probably more successful than I ever set out to be.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. I'm so glad. And let's see, can you still get into any unique forms? Are you super flexible and bendable?
Still got splits 3 ways.
Wow.
Can still grab my foot and pull it up to my head.
Oh my goodness.
I've really messed up my shoulders from snowboarding. They say skiers will injure their knees, but snowboarders will have upper body injuries. I'm 6'3", so when I get body slammed, I really get body slammed. So, but it's Kung Fu has made me a better snowboarder. I went yesterday and did about 5-6 hours and didn't fall once. So
that's good.
Yesterday was a good day.
It looked beautiful. I saw that picture you sent me with the snow.
Yeah. It was really awesome. If you guys go across my Instagram page,
okay, people
can find me Kisu Stars on Instagram. I think my tag is Lokhopkyun, LOKHOPKUEN on Instagram, if anybody wants to track me down there. But yeah.
Well, we'll link to that so people can find you and they can hammer you with some more questions.
Yeah, I wanna make my way up to Utah sometime and put in some turns with you one day.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
exactly. That would be fun. And yeah, I have fortunate circumstance to be able to work from home. And although, just to clarify, Plum Dragon's headquarters are in Chester, Maryland, but yeah, I get to enjoy the mountains and some skiing. So it's been a
Well,
lot of fun.
I think I believe in your products. Maybe we could talk about repping some of them here in Colorado.
Yeah,
I know a lot of my
absolutely.
friends are always I've got like a big bottle of Jow in my closet that I've had for about 30 years, and my friends keep begging me for some, and I'm getting stingy now.
Oh,
Right?
okay. Yeah, you can make a
So
whole gallon jug with some of our herb packs as well. So,
yeah.
and we have an affiliate program. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, the bottle I have right now, I got the herbs from my friend Don Hamby, who's a Hung Gar master. And then there's another formula that's attributed to our great master Cheong, the Iron Palm master. And that particular formula I haven't seen in years. I had a couple of herb packets of that, but after a few moves, it's either in a box or it's gone. Who knows?
You should compare that to our Kiyu Chung formula. See what you think.
I would like to very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, even though you are shy about doing these interviews. We really appreciate you doing that. I'll have to thank David again for convincing you to come on our show. And
I'll see you soon. I hope.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Have a good
Thanks
night.
again, Janelle. Okay, you too.
Bye. We also thank our listeners for joining us today. For show notes and links to information shared with you, visit us at plumdragonherbs.com. And if you liked this episode, we'd love for you to share and subscribe wherever you like to listen. If this episode has sparked more questions for you, we invite you to check out our new private forum where you can get answers to some of your toughest questions on herbalism and martial arts. Click the banner at the top of our website page for more information. Until next time.